Alright, this is Spider-Woman 51, a fill-in issue. I believe it is the only issue of this series not written by Tom Falcon, and it is also one of the few McKeever comics not written by Tom Falcon. This and the Little Miss Wolfman comics, which were written by Barry Amner. This is a conventional fill-in issue for its time. This was 2002, and by this point, fill-ins had morphed into another beast entirely. Ever since the Spider-Man 9/11 issue, which is atrocious for the record, it became quite common for fill-in issues to now try to be standalone heartstring tuggers. If Spider-Man's 9/11 issue made us all cry, and it made Mr. Doom cry too, then all fill-in issues should. I think that is a horrible way to set up this issue, but it does fit into the category of trying to use its one-off nature to emotionally manipulate you or make you feel something. It is written by McKeever. He is a writer that is probably not that well known to the generation of readers who watch my channel. Even if you were still reading comics in the 2000s, he was writing the sort of comics that you would unfairly scoff at. His big one, his big thing, and I always feel bad doing this because it makes it sound like I am dismissing everything else he wrote by saying he had a big thing. His was Spider-Man Loves Mary James, a manga-style young adult teen soap opera reimagining Mary James and Spider-Man's high school relationship. I can hear you scoffing from all the way over here, but it is... I might as well go all in and describe it as delightful. It's cute, it's somewhat different, it has its place and its audience. And I tell you, you couldn't get away with that sort of comic nowadays. Really, you couldn't. Editorial would fire you and replace you with a deplorable redneck going through a divorce. McKeever wrote other things. I'll talk about them in a few pages. The premise of this issue is a letter. A kid from Spider-Woman's school, who is unnamed, we don't learn his name, I think that's the point. He is writing a letter, and he is a secret admirer to our lead character, Marissa Parker, the daughter of the one true Spider-Man. He is writing a love letter to her, and we have a completely indecent and unnecessary shower scene with the Spider-Woman, who is barely 16 at best, and this serves absolutely no purpose in the story, and it doesn't even make sense. The story is told from the perspective of a secret admirer, and don't worry, he is not a creep who is spying on her in the shower. But that is how pointless this scene is. It's not something he sees. It's not part of the story or the narrative. It's... I would consider it underage, or a girl that is too young. So I am really put off by that. This guy, the secret admirer, his letter is... He says he is going away. And the emotional manipulation begins there, because to us we think he is going to kill himself because he can never be with Marissa. Thankfully that is not the case, but I was looking very intensely for incel shit in his letter, but it's not too bad. It's melodramatic at most. McKeever's career does seem to be very directed towards the teens and the kids. Some of the stuff he has written, another of his big things is Centennial, which I have not read but always wanted to, but Marvel haven't released a collection of it in like 15 years. That is about a kid who finds a broken, mutie-killing robot and reprograms it, and they are friends. Again, you'll scoff at it because it is a new character from the 2000s. And what's with all the Japanese media influence? But I understand that Centennial is a solid series, and I still do want to read it one day. He wrote the second year of Mistake, the Smurfettes solo series. He wrote some Tiny Titans at DC, Young Unhumans, which I've not read. He wrote a lot of all ages stuff, the Marvel Adventures. Even a lot of his mainline titles were also deliberately all ages. He wrote that Young Ally series, and he wrote some New Warriors sort of stuff. One of his creations is Invincible, the Marvel character, Invincible, who also starred in those two previous books. Another character he is responsible for is Girl No Man, Becky America, when she became Girl No Man. He wrote a miniseries and her stories that were backups in Captain America, and she was also in The Young Allies. The secret admirer is secretly admiring Marissa. He doesn't know that she is Spider-Woman, obviously. And when you get to the end, it is a sweet enough story. He just thinks that she is really swell. And it's understandable. Marissa is a lovely character to read about. And I suppose, in some ways, he is easy to relate to as a reader because we are in agreement that Marissa is a very special girl. I can also relate to some of the unrequited love shit. Some of it really did resonate with my memories of fancying a girl at school or another girl at college. But the difference is I knew better than to ever act upon it or write such a long letter to them. Ridiculous. How is Marissa meant to make the time to read this letter in between schoolwork and Spider-Womaning? This bit really hit hard. I remember the last time I saw a girl I had a crush on at college and our eyes met. He also ends up seeing her again though. I think if someone wasn't being very generous, they could reinterpret this entire story as being a story about stalking. And then maybe the shower scene might be relevant. But mandatory Spider-Woman action scene worked into the plot. Spider-Woman is fighting a never-before-seen villain who is clearly related to Spider-Man's villain, Elektra. She does reappear in a Tom Falcon issue. I was surprised to see her first appear in this fill-in issue, and then for her to have another appearance. I would also say Tom Falcon and Ron French, they were a bit better than this. They didn't often do stuff as weak as having the daughters of Spider-Man's enemies be Spider-Woman style versions of the villains. They tried, they didn't succeed, but they tried at giving her a unique rogues gallery, mostly original villains, with the legacy ones usually being previously established legacies like the Gobblers, or logical ones like the symbiotes. You do have characters who are legacy characters in a way, like the Falcon Man twins, but their origin isn't what you're expecting. And then there's the one who is technically a Birdman daughter, but again, it's not the main Birdman's daughter. To flip the argument though, this story isn't about this superhero battle. McKeever needed a quick villain to have Spider-Woman fight, and this was the easiest solution. Do a quick distaff version of an established Spider-Man rogue, and everyone will understand who she is and what her powers are straight away, because it isn't a story about her. There is this little bit where Spider-Woman saves the Admirer from falling to his death, and it's not said, but I took the implication to be he maybe realises Marissa is Spider-Woman. He recognises her voice or something. Sweet bit where they wave goodbye, even though they don't know each other. And I am still young enough, I remember my teenage crushes and young love. And I found myself a lot more supportive of this guy when I found out he was just moving away. In the end, Marissa gets his letter and the story ends. And his letter is nice enough. It's not expecting anything from her. It's just telling her that she is amazing and that she mattered to him. And I think that definitely helps a lot. There's maybe some projecting going on. He is projecting a lot onto Marissa. But we as readers know and completely understand a random kid being head over heels in love with Marissa. I don't think you miserable old farts will care for a done-in-one issue about teenage feelings. I'll give it 13 reasons up.